Hi, I'm Lazze and I'm teaching people on metal shaping, and I have done that for many years. And I'm back here on YouTube with tips and tricks, and on this video we're going to make a sample of a fender flare for an old car. It could be a 35, 39, 40 Ford. It could be to other applications as well. And you see it's like a G shape, so it's a round profile there and then flat on the side here. So that's what I'm going to do now, and this can be done with many different radius, because I have probably 7 or 8 different radius dies. So if you want a smaller one, a narrow one, or a bigger one, you can do that as well. So it depends on what you want. And this could also be a start, so you do this first and then you maybe ham this over a little more, and that can either be done by hand or in the bead roller too. So it's go up a little more. So it depends on what you're going to use it for. So I'm going to make a test piece so I can show you how this looks like when it's halfway done and then when it's done. And then I'm also going to show you after, if this is almost flat on the side, but maybe on the car the front curves in. And I can show you how to fix that after we have done this radius there on the edge. So that's what we're going to do. So this is the piece that I'm going to work on today, and this is just a scrap piece that I cut the radius on, so it's a little bigger than the other one. So this is the setup of dies that I'm going to use. So we're using a flat narrow die and one of the flame dies and a flat die behind it as a spacer. I'm not using that one and just building up the width of the 3 dies together so it fits my machine. So this one I'm going to use as a guide, and on the top I have a 1.5 millimeter radius die, and I crank that down all the way down, light together, and leave it there, turn the machine on, and I set these dies all the way out so it's about 3/4 inch in there. So I start there, and I can go a little slower too. So I'm lifting up my hands about 30 degrees the first time. So it's important that I focus on that point that goes into the machine. As soon as I take my eyes off from that point, I'm going to get off track. So now I'm lifting it up a little more and stay the same angle all the way through. And I can stop anytime I want and continue again. So it's important that you do this probably in 4 steps. This is the 3rd one. So next time I can go all the way up so it's touching the top die there. If you try to do it in one shot, then you're losing control over it and it's not going to come out the way we want. The more you get used to the bead roller, the faster you can go. You see now I'm all the way up there, so it's touching on the side there. And here it's important that I follow this piece down on the side that comes out, because it was cut in a radius in the inner curve. I can't go straight out. I need to follow that curve down, okay? So here you can see how this looks like. And I bent that 90 degrees, and because it was cut in a radius and it's an inner curve, when we bend that, it's still the same length. So we haven't shrinked or we haven't stretched anything. We just bent this in. The edge was there when we started, and now it's there. And when we did that, it's the same length and it's shorter. So that's why this curving. That's the only reason it curves like this. So this could also be the shape of a fender or something if that's what you want. You can hammer this in a little more if you want, but then it's also going to be curved even a little more. But now you can also go and shrink and stretch this and do whatever you want there. That's to control that shape. So the next step now, I'm going to change the dies in the bead roller, and I'm going to put those dies in so we can make this round. So here is the dies that I put in the bead roller. This is a 3/4 inch 19mm wide dies. The male die and the bottom die is maybe a little bigger, so we have room for the metal. So this machine has this adjustable shaft in and out 1.5 inch. So every time I change the dies in the machine, I need to turn this down and adjust this so it's in the center. And then I crank it down a little harder when I have it lined up in the center. And then I lock the shafts so it doesn't move. So now I know that it's all set there. So what I did, I bent this 90 degrees first, and it seems that it's easier to do it that way and then make this round. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to set this there and put the metal in there. And then now you see that I'm cranking this down, okay? And I crank this down all the way. So the best ways to do it is actually to see where it is all the way down. So the tape is there. 1, 2, 3. Put that in there. 1, 2, and 3. And then I can go just a little bit more because the machine flexing. So then I'm holding this up there. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at that point there. So I see what's going on. Because I can't, I maybe could use, no, I don't think I can use a guide, because when we get further in, it's going to be in a curve, so I can't use the guide. So the important thing is to keep the same distance there from the edge to the side of the die there. That's the most important thing. And I need to do that by free hand and just hold it straight. So there we have a round edge now on this one. We have a little line from the 90 degrees bent there, but that can easily be grinded off. But to bend that with a round one and a big flat one on the top and bend that around, it will never be so smooth like this. So you see here that this one is pretty straight now. If for some reason this had been more curved, what I could have done, if this was a little wider flange, it will be more curved. What I could have done is that the top die is in the center there now, but if I move the upper shaft, upper die a little further in, so it's a little more tight on the inside here, then it will stretch this. So if I run it one more time, it will stretch the inside edge here, and the panel will be open up like this, and it will be more straight. So that is one thing to make that a little more straight if you want. But if you for some reason, let's say this piece here is for a fender, but you know that the piece that you're going to replace, that curves in here. So what do you do then? I have a trick that I must show you for that. And we did this long time ago in aluminum when we built the 41 Willys coupe fenders for that. So I'm going to show you over at the shrinker now what I can do to change this so it curves in much more. So we go over to the deep shrinker. So I'm over here at the 5.5 inch deep shrinker, and what I'm going to show you now is to curve this in here. So I find out this many years ago actually. So I go in here and you can see that now I can bite that and I can make that flat again, okay? And when I make it flat, then I can shrink it. So I make it a little flat first like this. So I have it like that. Now I'm going to go in and shrink it to what I want it to be. Like that. But you see, now this is flat. But now I can go over to the bead roller again, and I can run this again and make it round. So I'm back to the bead roller again, and I'm using the same dies. And because we already have done this part here, and we're going to continue here, I would like to set the dies here and then go this direction. So I'm standing on the other side now. And of course I'm going to use the other pedal now, so the sheet go the other direction. So here, okay, so now I rounded this, but you see it's still curving in like that. So that was the whole thing with that. And if I'm not happy with this, that this is not the right curve, if it's not enough, I can go in there and I can shrink or stretch that and change that again and run it again. And how many times I can do that, I don't know, but it's probably several times until you get it right. So this could be part of a fender for a car. So that was the tips for the day for the YouTube. And if you want more information, you can go to www.lazzemetalshaping.com. Thank you for watching.